It pains me to say it because we know what this team can do when they put the mind to it, and we know what they've brought in the last few years, but I think it is about acceptance now, guys.
Lads, lads, lads.
All the talk before the match was whether the game would actually go ahead. The first positives for the Blades all season came with coronavirus tests. Then came the negative. The game would go ahead. We aren't Manchester City. This was game week 16. The previous 15 have been about as enjoyable as stepping on an upturned plug with your eyes. It was all about wins now. But, like Prince Philip, we will see if Chris Wilder can reach 100. The weather was like a scorned ex-wife, cold, bitter and unwelcoming towards men in shorts. The match kicked off with a strong 11, Mousset playing up top with Ryan Brewster and Didsey in the Duffy role, just as a lot of Blades have wanted to see. And the rest of the team was the same as played against Everton. Ashley Barnes drew a really good save from Aaron Ramsdale in the first minute. And United also had a very interesting claim for handball on 28 minutes in the Burnley goalmouth. Looked a penalty to me initially, but then the rules seem to constantly change as to what is actually one's arm, and the T-shirt rule, I believe, being the current thinking, and this one seemed to hit the top of the sleeve, so not a penalty. But either way, clearly a corner, not a goal kick, as was given, because a Burnley player did head it clear. Ramsdale made another magnificent save moments later to deny a header from Wood, but Burnley scored from the resulting corner through Ben Mee's header. Ethan Ampadu looking like Ethan Ampapoo as he lost his marker. In the final 15 minutes of the first half, there were signs, a bit more from our boys. Brewster looking lively, Didsey giving his all, Ender playing better. At times we saw more men in the box than Katie Price, but all to no avail. At the break, 1-0, a familiar scoreline.
So no changes at half-time. We made a decent start. Dave McGoldrick had a pretty good opportunity, making Pope pull off a good save a few minutes in. Probably the only real chance we created, to be honest. Neither team really did much, but we had the lion's share of the possession. That kind of highlighted exactly what we've all been saying all season, is our lack of quality on the ball. Majority of our passes were sideways, backwards. We didn't really put the ball into the danger area many times. When we got forward, we kind of cut back on ourselves, like we didn't really know what to do when we got into decent positions. I've been getting pelters on Twitter the last couple of days because I've just been pointing out that there's no urgency. There's no urgency attacking-wise, there's no urgency when we have the ball in the midfield. When you're in this position, you need to fight for everything. You need to literally put pressure on their defence constantly and their midfielders constantly. Don't give them time to create anything. But too many players are hiding. Like Wilder said, no one's grabbed that shirt and given a challenge to other players to take it off them. Really, I don't think. Burke positive when he came on, but it came a bit predictable because we constantly were playing the exact same passes to him. Not sure what Ampadu brings to this team at all. He just kind of coasts around the pitch, covers a lot of ground but doesn't do anything. That partnership of him and Osborne needs to never appear again. They are absolutely terrible together, and I am really not sure how Osborne made 90 minutes. He really wasn't good today, guys. A couple of decent chances from Baldock and Egan. Our non-attacking centre-back shooting from the edge of the box. None of our strikers do that. This is the problem we have, isn't it? We had a change of formation about halfway through. Not sure if that did much because we didn't create anything either way. Osborne had a decent chance near the end. Free kick from Norwood. Could have put it back in the danger area, but he just decided to do a tame header. Easy catch for Pope. This was a must-win game for us. It was more than a 6-pointer. It was a 12-pointer, and we chucked away any chance of getting that by conceding another terrible goal where people just weren't doing their jobs. It pains me to say it because we know what this team can do when they put the mind to it, and we know what they've brought in the last few years, but I think it is about acceptance now, guys.
And the ratings from yet another disappointing 1-0 defeat, this one at Turf Moor away to Burnley. Let's start with Aaron Ramsdale. I gave him a 7. Great save in the first minute, followed by a great save on about the half-hour mark that led to the corner, that led to the eventual, and some would say inevitable, Burnley goal. Didn't have much to do in the second half, so and he really not at fault for the goal, so a creditable 7 for our shot stopper. George Baldock, 5.5. As usual, George Baldock found himself in great positions. As usual, George Baldock did nothing with them. Instead of flicking those early crosses into the box, Baldock tries for a bit of flair and ends up running down that cul-de-sac into 3 or 4 Burnley players and not getting the ball across. When he was able to cross the ball, it did not lead to anything. Chris Basham gave Bash a 7. The stalwart, as usual, getting forward when he needs to, getting back when he needs to. You could ask him to play goal for the first 45 and play striker for the second 45, and he would, and he'd probably be better than most of our players at it. So, solid 7 as usual from Mr. Sheffield United, Chris Basham. The captain, John Egan, also a 7 from me. Solid as usual, didn't really put a foot wrong. Was able to step up into attack when needed. In fact, blazed a shot just over from outside the box. So another solid effort from Egan, and just more proof that when we go down and we have to sell John Egan to a Premier League club, we're definitely going to miss him. Jack Robinson, he gets a 4. Jack Robinson, not a Premier League defender. And that's really all that needs to be said. Partially at fault for the goal, not able to get over and mark Ben Mee with Ampadu and just never got going. Doesn't play the overlapping role well. Was brought in as cover for O'Connell and now is forced into playing the whole season. You know, it's just not a fit. Enda Stevens, a 6 from me. Thought Enda had one of his best games of the season in a Sheffield United shirt. And we saw glimpses of last season from Enda, getting forward, slipping in nice passes. And hopefully that's a sign that he's coming back to form. Ben Osborne, another 4, another disappointing performance. All the endeavor in the world, not very much skill to go along with it, unfortunately. And that could be said of quite a lot of our players tonight. And I will say that it just goes to show you how poorly John Fleck must be doing. And we'll get to that in a minute. But how poorly must John Fleck be doing that Ben Osborne is retaining his starting place in our 11. Speaking of how poorly somebody's doing, Ethan Ampadu, he gets a 4. At fault for the goal. I don't know how he doesn't mark or get up to try to beat Ben Mee to that ball. I don't think midfield is Ampadu's position. A couple decent passes here and there. He did have the corner that was cleared off the line by Brownhill from Burnley. It was not a handball. So it's not working. The middle of the park's not working for me with Osborne and Ampadu. McGoldrick, creditable 7. A great performance from Didsey in that number 10 role that we'd wanted to see him in. A lot of fans have been clamoring for. I will say, all the flair in the world, but David McGoldrick's 33 or 34 years old. He's not going to have the pace. So when he beats a man or two, he's going to need an outlet like Brewster Mousset to get the ball to, and that was in short supply today. Rhian Brewster, a 6, a disappointing 6 in a way, because after the first half, I think he was trending towards more of a 7 performance. Was really looking like he was betting into the team better. It was good on the ball, trying to spray some crosses in, got a shot off that made Nick Pope get down for a save, and then was largely anonymous in the second half. He really just disappeared from play and ended up being rated a 6. Lys Mousset, a 4. You know, Wilder said after the match at least only had half a game in him. I'm not sure that him playing just above Brewster McGoldrick was the best place for him, and, you know, much like most of our strikers all season, he's feeding off the scraps, but didn't really get himself into any positions to get on the end of a ball, and it didn't show anything that made me jump out of my seat, so a 4 from Lys. On to the subs. John Fleck, a 3. I don't know who this man is wearing the number 4 shirt, but I don't think it's John Fleck. I think he's been abducted by aliens and replaced by, I don't know, probably somebody from the Sheffield Wednesday starting 11 at this point. He came into the match, ran about, fouled a man, and just, he was not a part of what we were doing. It's like we were playing around John Fleck when he was on the pitch. It's a really bizarre, just weak performance from Fleck. Ollie Burke never got into the game, a 4 for Ollie Burke. replaced Mousset, and it was in pretty much every way, shape, and form a like-for-like swap in that Mousset didn't do anything, and then Burke came on and didn't do anything either. The commentators are so quick to talk about Burke's pace and power, and he showed none of that today. Ollie Norwood, last sub we made, I'd give him a 5. A couple decent set pieces, pinged a couple passes. Probably didn't play long enough for a full rating of how Norwood would have done in a whole match, but I'd definitely start him over Ampadu in the next game, so a 5 from me. And finally, the gaffer, Chris Wilder, 5.5. Hamstrung by injuries and COVID, so the starting 11 probably picked itself for the most part. I thought the substitutions were a bit weak when you're a goal down. You brought on a like-for-like attacker, and you brought on 2 midfielders. So we didn't see any Jayden Bogle, who, granted, it was a 10 or 15-minute sample size. I understand. We don't know much about Jayden Bogle, but he gave us life in that Brighton match, and then we haven't seen him since. So I just hope Chris Wilder knows what he's doing in the January window, and I hope that it's done with an eye to just consolidate and figure out what we need to do once we're back in the Championship. So on that positive note, I wish all you Blades a Happy New Year, and we'll see you after the next match. Up the Blades.
Well, 2020 has been the worst year in a long time, and today didn't disappoint. Ironically, a lot of folks were saying that it feels a little bit like Groundhog Day right now. You know, we're stuck in a cycle, same thing after same thing, 1-0 after 1-0. I was actually watching a Bill Murray movie this morning. Didn't finish it because we had a 3-hour drive to get home in time to watch the game. But yeah, feel like I probably could have just stayed watching that one. Wouldn't have felt any different. But alas, we're here. We've got some positives and negatives to talk about. For me personally, I think on the whole, a lot of the positives and negatives are going to be the same. Another 1-0, another game where we concede a goal off of a set piece that we probably should be defending better. So negatives wise, I think that's one thing that we need to look at again. I feel like we haven't seen that in the last couple matches, but it's reared its ugly head, as they say. So we have some better possession today. I think holding over 60% of possession really speaks more to Burnley getting their goal and being content to sit back and defend for the rest of the game than it really does to us having a bit better form. Because as you saw, we did nothing with it. We may have had a couple of shots on goal, but realistically, all of them were easy saves for Nick Pope. Nobody really threatened him other than that one corner we had where it was cleared right off the line in the first half. That corner alone, there really wasn't else to be on the whole positive about. But for me personally, what I'm going to take away from this game is Rhian Brewster looked much better and actually involved in the game in the first 30 minutes or so. So I think that's a big positive going forward, is that Rhian Brewster could actually play a big role in this team. Just getting the right combination of strikers and getting some confidence built back up in them. And the other big positive was Aaron Ramsdale making the big saves when he needed to. Again, the goal we conceded was off of a set piece, was a little bit silly to concede. But on the whole, I think Ramsdale did an amazing job today. Definitely deserved to have a clean sheet, if anything, from this game. So moving forward, a lot to think about, a lot for Chris Wilder and the lads to look forward to.
So where do we go from here, Blades? Well, it's official. Worst start in English League football. That record is going to hang over us now, sadly, for a long time. We're now probably going to go to Crystal Palace and have another 1-0 defeat, I imagine. But for me now, I just feel like we should play like we're already relegated. Just go for it. Treat every game like a cup game. It just takes some of the pressure off. Just like to see a performance. I'd like to see some goals as well. The January transfer window, of course, is due to be opened. For me, I'd send Ampadu back. I just don't know what he's offering us. I just really can't see that one good performance where he was marauding forward. I can't remember what match that was. Since then, what has he actually done for us? I think as well with Wilder, his targets will already be known to the board. I imagine they were, a lot of research and planning goes into them. So I'm not expecting us to do signings that will be preparing us for the Championship. I imagine these are signings lined up to give us Premier League survival. I think they've already been submitted. So yeah, I don't think there'll be anything too surprising there. Of those signings, I think we need 2 midfielders now. We always needed a creative midfielder. Yes, their centre-back cover would be good, but Robinson isn't the worst of our worries, really. We need 2 midfielders, I'd say, and one of those needs to be a creative one. Fleck, Norwood, Osborne, none of these guys are doing the job for us at the minute. Lunny hasn't looked good, he's been suspended anyway, and Berger out for however long. For me, get 2 good midfielders in there, just to give us something to look at, something a bit more impressive than what we've got at the minute. But on to Crystal Palace, another 1-0 defeat maybe we might see some different, maybe a 2-0 defeat, who knows. But anyway, let's carry on. Up the Blades.